Good evening and welcome to Tower Talks, the show where we take a closer look at the stories affecting Texans, Austinites, and students right here at UT Austin. I'm McKenna Valentine, and tonight we have a great panel lined up for you to talk about pre-professional student organizations. But before we get into that, reporter Kai Fong interviewed Alexis Vasquez, the president of the Communication Council, to get a closer look at the club, which is the student governing body for the Moody College of Communication.
Alexis, thank you for joining me.
Thank you. So excited to be here today.
Now, to start off our questions, what is Comm Council?
Yeah, so Comm Council is the official student governing body of Moody College Communication. We run under the Senate of College Council, so McCombs has their college council, liberal arts, and all the colleges at UT, and we all work together to make a better place for our students and our respective councils.
So, Alexis, I hear Comm Council has a really interesting program called a Big Little program, right? What is that about?
Yes, so it is our own internal mentorship program that we have within Comm Council. We have an older member get paired up with a new member from the new recruiting class that we have every semester, and basically that acts as your mentor throughout college. I've had the privilege of having some littles as well, and they've been really great. It's really great just to have that mentor to look up to and kind of ask questions about college life, and also just seeing if they have taken similar classes to you. A few of my littles have had advertising and PR classes as well, so it's really great just for them to reach out and be like, hey, have you taken this class, or how did you study for this exam and stuff like that. And also outside of like the professional world, it's also great to have like someone there to like give you a helping hand, because we both know college life can get difficult, you know? So it's really great just to have that someone. My big, she graduated last year, and she was always reaching out just to kind of see how I was doing, how my week was going, and like catching up during finals, because she knew that was a stressful time. So it's a really great program that we have.
UT is home to dozens of pre-professional organizations designed for students interested in specific career paths, ranging from traditional organizations like pre-med and business fraternities to organizations based in the arts. The groups often provide networking opportunities, workshops, and host events typically tailored to a specific industry. Some are also organized around identity groups, specific to race or gender, for example. After our break, our panel, full of representatives from these various organizations, will explore the role these groups play in students' career development and college experience. Tower Talks will be right back. Welcome back to Tower Talks. Our panel tonight includes Mairani Serrano, the Director of Marketing for U Talent Records, UT's student record label. Mairani leads marketing teams in promoting music releases and artist events, and manages the group's social media accounts. Kyla Simmons, the president of Black Lens, a group building community and providing networking opportunities for Black artists and creatives on campus. Ava Marchesi, the vice president of public relations for the University Fashion Group. Ava does outreach events and plans club events, such as socials and the group's capstone fashion show. Ronnie Weaver, the president of Texas Momentum, an organization based around entrepreneurship and connecting students to startups. And Sammy Khan, the president of Delta Epsilon Mu, a pre-health co-ed fraternity. Sammy oversees all administrative, financial, and intra-organizational relations functions of the organization. Varya Sufeva, the vice president of Children's Oral Health Advocacy Project. As part of the group, Varya organizes visits to elementary schools around the Austin area. Many students rely on their coursework to prepare for their future careers, but pre-professional organizations have become an increasingly popular way to gain hands-on experience, industry connections, and mentorship. But what role do these student-led groups really play in shaping career paths, and how do they differ from traditional academic learning? First, to familiarize our audience, could we go down the panel and have each of you briefly introduce yourself and your organization and its focus?
Hi, my name is Myrani, and I'm part of U Talent Records, UT's only student-run record label on campus. And each year we sign 3 student artists to the label and kind of give them an artist team. Those include like students who are interested in pursuing the business side of the music industry, so managers of booking, finance, and marketing.
I'm Kyla Simmons, and I am president of Texas Black Lens. We are a Black film organization on campus. We are an organization that creates a space for Black creatives as well as Black filmmakers on campus. We create a minimum of 1 student-led production each semester. We host a big showcase at the end of the semester, and we make sure that we have a lot of networking and mentorship opportunities for our students and make sure that they have correct exposure to professionals in the industry to be able to have those connections once they graduate.
Hi, my name's Ava, and I'm VP of PR for University Fashion Group. And University Fashion Group is a fashion-led organization here at UT Austin, where we give our students hands-on experience within the fashion industry through hosting our annual capstone fashion show every spring, where we promote young designers that are part of the textile and apparel program. And we also work in fashion shows. We actually just came back from New York Fashion Week, so we give our students a chance to get that hands-on experience, connect with industry professionals, and most of all connect with their peers who are just as much as into fashion as they are.
Hello, I'm Ronnie Weaver. I'm the president of Texas Momentum. What we do is we connect students that are passionate to work in startups with startups that are founded right here at UT. Every semester we take in a handful of the best startups from UT Austin, and we connect them with a handful of undergrads that are passionate to work, and they work for free for the entire semester. At the end of the semester, we have a big demo day where we invite a whole bunch of investors and members from UT Austin student body to come see the work we've done. In the past year, 2 of our startups have gone full-time after our program, so these are real deal companies, not just side hobbies. That's Texas Momentum.
Awesome. I'm Sammy Khan. I'm the president of Delta Epsilon Mu. We are the Sigma chapter of a nationally recognized organization, and it's a pre-health fraternity. So we connect our members with different clinical, volunteer, and social opportunities around UT and around the Austin area. And it's really meant to be a community for people who are on the same long journey, and to give them a community to rely on and to have their back.
Hi, my name is Varya Sufueva. I'm the Vice President of Children's Oral Health Advocacy Project, or COHAP, and our main mission is to visit elementary schools around the Austin area and educate the students about oral hygiene. And we do this by presenting a slideshow, and we have a tooth model where we demonstrate how to properly brush your teeth, and we do various activities with the students, kindergarten through 5th grade, to teach them a little bit more about oral hygiene.
Well, thank you all for the introductions. So many students generally rely on their classes to prepare them for their careers. Why do pre-professional organizations exist in the first place, and what gap do they fill in that traditional coursework doesn't?
I can go first.
Okay, perfect.
It definitely gives you hands-on experience outside the classroom setting. At least for me, being a PR student, I honestly I feel like I haven't gained a lot of knowledge until now that I'm a third-year student in upper division classes. As a freshman, sophomore, I was learning more of like the principles of PR. I felt that I was gaining more experience through UFG with learning how to create pitches, how to reach out to brands and companies and make those partnerships, how to make a press release, how to event plan, all through the organization rather than my classes. And like I mentioned earlier, it also gave me a networking opportunity to meet other like-minded students that were just as passionate about fashion, public relations, social media, etc. So it gave me like a foundation of what I'm giving to the table right now in my upper division PR classes in my internship.
Very nice.
Yeah, I'd love to add, like, specifically that being in a pre-professional organization is one of the rare chances you have at a university to be in an environment where there are no rules, where it's not a predefined simulation to help you learn, but it's actually you going out in the real world where you don't know what problems you'll face, you don't know the exact timeline, you don't have set dates you have to deliver something by, there's no rubric. Instead, it's just, do you feel proud of the work you've done by the end of the day? You're surrounded by people that are passionate and they have that same energy flowing through them that makes them go to their events on a Monday or a Thursday night at 6 to 9 p.m. This is all passion. You don't really find that in classes. You find passion in pre-professional organizations.
Absolutely. Does anyone else have anything to add?
Absolutely. I just piggyback off what both of them said. I think when you really feel inspired by the work that you want to do for the rest of your life is when you're actually out there doing it. The classes obviously give you very baseline knowledge, but for example, I was connected with a clinical opportunity when I was a sophomore by a senior in my organization, and she had worked at this vision therapy clinic for a while to gain her own clinical hours, and she thought it was an amazing experience. So I ended up interviewing and joined the vision therapy clinic. They trained me in vision therapy, and after about 3 months I had my own patient schedule. And getting that type of hands-on clinical experience when you're making a direct impact on people's lives and being able to communicate, and not through a doctor, but to the patient themselves, and have a direct line or a direct impact on their health, was the most rewarding thing to see, and one of the most rewarding reasons that I chose to continue down my pre-med path instead of doing something else.
So unlike faculty-led initiatives, pre-professional organizations are student-run. How does that impact the way that your groups function?
I think it's a lot of time management. Since we are all students, we're not just going to classes, we also have our daytime jobs to afford to even live in Austin, and along with that we also have internships like I'm doing right now. So it gives you a lot of time management skills, not just for yourself but everyone like around you. And yeah, that's what I've noticed a lot right now too, with our busy season with the capstone show coming up in April. All of us just trying to work around each other's schedules. So that's what I noticed the most about like working in a student-led org.
Mm-hmm.
I feel like you definitely feel more gratitude once the projects are finished, specifically for student-led, because at the end of the day, you get to say, us as students, we created this, we funded this, and specifically for my organization, everything is grassroots for us, especially when it comes to funding projects and location scouting and things of that nature. So when at the end of the semester, when we've created either 1 or 2 films, at the end of the day, we can say, us as students have been able to create that. And a big part of student-led organizations that I feel like is so important is you get to learn from your peers. And I feel like specifically when it comes to professionalism, a lot of people try to network up, but it's so important to network across, because all these same people are in the same boat as you and can also grow with you professionally. And so it's really cool to be able to make those connections and one day be able to reach back to someone that you worked with in the past, or you know somebody for these projects. And specifically when it comes to classes and stuff like that, you worked on set with this person and you know that they're a good casting director, location scout, or a good director, and so you have that connection. And so you don't have to, like, you can look to your professors for some of that mentorship, but you also have like students who can be able to be there in your time of need for those things that you need. So.
Absolutely, that's a great point.
I'd like to add that one advantage I see with student organizations is that they're built for students by students, and students have the best understanding of what students right now in 2025 need most. what is lacking in the current resources on campus. They are in the room, and they can actually feel what the meetings feel like, and they have the power to change and adapt the organization to whatever the student body needs at that time. This is not something you see in a lot of the larger institutions on campus, because frankly they're not led by students. But as we are led by students, we can innovate quicker, we can adapt to what our student body needs. I think we have a closer relationship with our student body.
I have a question for Sammy. Many people associate fraternities with social activities and may not be familiar with professional fraternities. How does your organization differentiate itself from social fraternities? And what misconceptions do you encounter regarding your mission and activities?
Yeah, that's a good question. So, first of all, DEM is a co-ed family, as I would explain it. So, the fraternity, I often describe it as just a pre-health organization, because we have so many different people of so many different backgrounds who are all contributing to the one similar cause. And again, there's a very big professional focus towards the organization. So we have like different speakers come to our general meetings to talk about different career paths in pre-health. We have a big like shadowing focus to get people exposed to different pre-health opportunities out there. We make sure that we are very involved in the Austin community. So we go around and volunteer in Austin. We started a blood drive here on campus, and this is the 4th semester now that we're going to be hosting one on campus April 8th and 9th, so please come out, donate your blood. So yeah, I think it can be confused, but I think one way that we differentiate ourselves is we do so much in the Austin community and wanting to commit to give back, that it really shows that while we are a family and we love hanging out together and we love to be social together, we really differentiate ourselves from the rest and try to make an impact while we're here and beyond.
Thank you.
Yeah.
Here's a question for all of you. As leaders in your respective orgs, do you think students have the experience to mentor or guide other students into professional spaces? And if so, how do they gain that experience?
I mean, maybe it's like the big sister in me, but I can definitely relate to having enough experience with U of G where I feel like I can mentor another student that like wants to go into PR or just fashion as a whole. Just because, like I mentioned earlier, U of G does give you a lot of hands-on experience, and I feel that I learned most of the materials that you would bring into the world of PR through this organization rather than my classes up until at this point, now that I'm a 3rd year. And I do that right now. We have our committee members that some of them are not even in PR or Moody as a whole, but they still want to like learn and get out of their bubble. And so we teach them how to create pitches, how to reach out to brands and make those partnerships, how to create press releases, how to event plan. So I think that's how I mentor right now.
For sure.
Oh, go ahead.
You go for it.
Go. You're good.
Just to add on to that, at U Talent Records we have various different departments, and within those departments we have committees as well. So we have marketing chairs, management chairs, booking and finance chairs, and it's a really great opportunity for students who don't even have experience but are interested in the music industry to really just shed some light into like what it's about to put on a show, or how to market a show, how to make a graphic, like what are the finances part like of running a record label. So definitely.
Thank you.
I'll say to piggyback off of something that you said earlier, it's made for students by students, and so we're kind of all in the same similar situations, but in the organization there's some hierarchy with just people who the classes that they've taken and stuff like that. So through that, I'll say when I first joined Texas Black Lens as a sophomore, some of the upperclassmen had taken classes, and so being on set with them, there were times that I was able to shadow them and kind of understand different crew roles. And back to what you were saying about how before I even get to those classes, I'm able to gain those experiences and gain that knowledge about it. And I say specifically what Texas Black Lens does does is we try to be heavily involved with the MFA grad students who have actually been out in the industry, and have them come to our meetings and give workshops on how to pitch your films, how to work with cinematography and specific cameras, and how to apply for grad school. Like, grad school is very daunting to a lot of people, especially when it does come down to fine arts, and so making sure that people understand all of these things from people who have been out in the industry and have been able to learn and gain these experiences, and having them kind of mentor our students our members on set, as well as just in personal life. Like, that's your TA, that grad student that you met in Texas Black Lens, so now you know your TA and you're connected. So that's some of the ways I feel like students can gain experience from other students or more experienced students like grad students.
Yes. Does anyone else have anything to add?
Yeah, absolutely. I think our upperclassmen have gone through everything that our lowerclassmen are going through currently. And one thing that you do get in the pre-health field is you enter college and you're either told, like, by family members or something, oh, like, you should be on this path, and then you realize that that's maybe not for you. And that's definitely a story that we hear a lot in DEM, is that they come in, let's say, as pre-med, and I have many friends who've switched out, but they stay in DEM for the community and what they've learned, and they want to give back. So, for example, someone starts as pre-med and they want to go into computational biosciences. So the reason why that was because they met and talked to an upperclassman who was in a very similar position as them. And I think that's one of the main things that a lot of these pre-health or pre-professional organizations can offer, is helping people along the journey and answer the questions that they don't really know where to start, or like where to begin looking for answers. And they can give their own insights into their own journey and I guess help them along the way.
So on that note, breaking into some of these fields like the music industry or getting into medical school tends to be really competitive. How do you balance building a sense of community with the fact that the members may eventually be competing for the same opportunities as you?
I think we have the mindset of it's a little less competitive and more like having each other's backs. Like you mentioned, these are going to be the people that you might work with in the future. And honestly, creating friendships within the org really does help to make it feel less competitive. I joined UFG when I was a freshman, and now some of my closest friends are also in UFG, and they're officers like me, and they're also just members. So that has definitely helped me view them more as a peer and a friend more than a competitor. While fashion is a very competitive industry, as we all know, it does make it feel a little less daunting and more supportive, on the contrary, honestly.
I feel like specifically for my organization, when it does come to post-graduation opportunities and things like that, we really do try to build that sense of community that by making sure that everyone has the same information. So at the end of the day, it's what you choose to do with that information. So making sure that everybody knows these contacts and has these networks and stuff like that. So then you choose, you can lead a horse to water. And so if they choose to take advantage of these things in different ways, but they also will know that at the end of the day, regardless of where they end up going, they do have people at Black Lens that have either been in that position, so maybe one day that connection can get them into that position as well. But really just making sure that everyone has the same information. So like for grad school, yes, a lot of people might be applying for grad school at the same time, but everyone has that same pool of information and the best way to approach it and the best way to write your essays and stuff like that. So just making sure that people understand that we're all on the same boat and all on the same page, and that it's just what you choose to do with that information and how you would choose to approach it. But yeah.
For sure.
I would say that in Momentum, my organization, we don't really feel that we're competing for the same opportunities, but rather that we're creating our own new opportunities. We're making new startups, but we're also increasing our skill sets at a dramatic rate. And I feel that our members really know that whenever we do bring in a recruiter, and that recruiter, picks 2 people from the organization, but they don't pick 58 people from the organization, those other 58 people know that the recruiter is more likely to come next time. The fact that they found someone from the organization shows that, like, hey, this is a great talent pool. This recruiter is going to come back next time, or they're going to bring more companies from the same elite level to come hire from your organization. So it's not about competing for the same opportunities, but rather building everyone up and creating more opportunities for everyone.
And very supportive.
Yes.
Yeah.
I have a question for Ronnie.
Oh.
Unlike some of the other groups here which focus on well-defined career paths like medicine, law, or the arts, entrepreneurship and dealing with a range of startup is comparatively quite broad and can apply to almost any industry. How does Texas Momentum support such a wide range of startups while still maintaining a strong sense of direction and purpose for its members?
Yeah, it's being very open-ended and allowing people to explore their passions without putting much restrictions on them. We find that a lot of organizations that try and teach entrepreneurship, they have a certain curriculum about them where they say you must learn these things, you must apply these this semester. But that doesn't work for every startup, for every project. You know, you're at different levels, growing at different rates in different industries. So what we try and do is we give as much autonomy as we can to the founders and to the interns working on those teams. We as an executive team have zero rules for how the teams function or for when they should hit certain milestones. What we do is we bring in as many advisors as we can. Every week we bring in someone to individually consult each team in their current situation. We take in applications from every school. We are completely agnostic to which school or degree you're taking. Yeah, I'd say that really the key is to be as open and accepting as you can to create as many opportunities as possible.
Thank you. There tend to be several pre-professional organizations for a single career area, especially in fields like pre-health or business. How does your organization position itself within this landscape, and do you find yourselves competing with other similar groups, or is there room for collaboration? Let's start with Sammy.
Yeah, I think that's a really great question. There's a lot of really great pre-health organizations out there, like at UT. I think one of the ways that we differentiate ourselves is with the environment that we make within DEM. We hear it from people who are recruiting to join the organization and our new classes of members as well, that what really drew them to our organization versus others is that it really feels like a very nurturing environment within a broader scape of being very competitive with each other. And that kind of is how many pre-health fields are, because when you're applying to grad school, a lot of people know, and like at least for pre-med, when you're applying to med schools, the numbers do matter. So you feel like you're competing with each other in classes, in for opportunities, just to be able to have a chance to make an impact on someone's life. And then when they come to DEM, they feel that it's completely different, because we try to nurture a community where people are there for each other, where people help each other along the way. And I think that's what really draws people to DEM itself. I think there is definitely room for collaboration with other pre-health organizations. There's a lot of different opportunities that other organizations do have that we also feed into. So we often have like social events with other pre-health organizations as well, and we try to collaborate as much as possible on professional and community service stuff too. So yeah.
For Sammy and Varya, the health field is highly competitive, and many students feel pressured to stand out. How do you think organizations like yours add to that pressure by making students feel they have to be involved in multiple extracurriculars to be successful?
You want to go first?
Sure. Yeah, that's a really great question. Students don't need to get involved, obviously, but organizations like DEM and COHAP offer a unique stance in the pre-health and medicine and dental paths that could benefit their resume and application a little more.
Yeah, I think yeah. A lot of students do feel pressured to do a lot of things. They want to show that they're making an impact in a lot of different places, and one of the ways that we mentor, especially the younger students, is it's not really a quantity, it's quality. If you really have something that you're passionate about, something you can talk about, and people in grad schools find that it's a genuine passion of yours, that'll really stand out. You can be a part of 50 different things, or you can put all of your time into volunteering with one organization that you really align with their mission, and that person overall is going to be much more successful because it aligns with their story. So I think there is merits to having like a diverse background and having a lot of things to talk about, but at the end of the day, it's really about what matters to you as a person and how are you going to be able to express that when the time comes.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, going off of Sammy, you don't want to spread yourself a mile wide and an inch deep. You want to choose something you're seriously passionate about and get into it. You can choose one or two things, but you do want to put all of your time and effort toward that and show that you are passionate about it, and you'll be successful in the competition that way.
Yes, for sure. So for everyone, anyone can answer. Who tends to join your organization? Students already set on that career path, or those just exploring? And what strategies do you use to recruit members? Is recruitment ever difficult?
You know, one thing that I love about UFG is that I think some people might have the idea that we're all textile and apparel majors, and we're not. There's such a diversity of majors within our group. I mean, I personally knew an officer that was a neuroscience major. We have, engineer majors, pre-law, PR, other people, Moody majors. So I can't pinpoint that there's a specific major that joins our organization, but one thing is for sure that it's a community of people that love fashion, that love culture, that love beauty. And even though not all of them want to go down that path, they do want to create that community because, especially being in a state like Texas, those topics aren't really celebrated. We're not New York, we're not California, we're not Milan or London, where they're into that. I feel like sports and science and research is really celebrated at this university. So our group definitely gives our students like a safe space to celebrate that passion.
Yeah. I'll say, specifically for my organization, what I feel like is so beautiful is that a lot of our members join to explore and just to see because a lot of them in the early stages in lower division classes don't really know exactly where they want to take their major and where they want to take their career, and so they join Texas Black Lens to be able to be on our sets and figure out, okay, I really like doing sound, or I really like being behind the camera, and figuring out what type of classes to take from other upperclassmen. And so I think that's really beautiful because we get to see a lot of people who come in just excited to learn everything, and then we see them coming out more focused and more disciplined in one specific area in film, which I think is really beautiful. And just given the fact that yes, we create films, but we try to make a safe space for all creatives. That's the most important part. And there's not really a lot of black students in the film department at this university in general, and so just being able to have that space for us, a lot of people are so excited to find out, you're in your classes and it's really only you and one other black person in your film class, and so being able to have an organization where it's like, all of y'all like movies like I do, all of y'all want to do what I do, so it's a really beautiful thing. And I'll say recruitment, some of the ways that we try to recruit students is by going into some of these lower division classes and trying to get them early. You're a freshman, you don't really know what you want to do. Come to Black Lens and be on one of our sets and figure it out. So we try to visit classes and other organizations and collab with a lot of organizations. And I'll say sometimes it is difficult because as film majors, as you go into your upper division classes, these classes take up a lot of your time, and kind of piggybacking off of what you guys said, you have to kind of focus and prioritize some things, and so sometimes people prioritize their independent projects outside of Black Lens, and so sometimes it could be a little hard to focus on recruiting members because a lot of them have their own responsibilities with jobs and classes and other extracurriculars and stuff like that. But just the most beautiful part for me is that a lot of people come in just wanting to explore, and we give them that opportunity to be able to explore any different area that they'd like.
I was going to add, although COHAP is technically like a pre-dental org, we teach students about oral hygiene, we do have a good amount of students who are actually pre-med, and we're trying to recruit some education students too, because I always say medicine isn't only in the healthcare field, it's also in the education field, and you're interacting with patients and trying to find the clearest way to explain something to them. And I think COHAP offers a really unique opportunity to learn to explain in a clear manner to people who don't have a scientific background. So we do have a good breadth of students who aren't just pre-dental students.
Yeah, similar to UTalent, one might think it's majority music majors, but I would say it's an equal amount of music and business majors. Almost all of exec are McCombs and Moody majors, so it's really interesting seeing kind of how diverse the organization is. Like one of our student artists this year is a rhetoric and writing major, and yeah, it's a great opportunity to make connections with people who have the same passion as you, but maybe are studying something different. And with recruiting, it definitely can get a little hard, like you said, just because trying to table or going to different classes, just getting people to show up to your organization can be a little hard, especially when the things that we offer might be a little more niche.
Mm-hmm. Well, thank you, everyone. Moving into our second topic, while pre-professional organizations offer many benefits, they also come with challenges. From concerns about accessibility and leadership qualifications to questions about how they compare to real-world industry experience, it's worth taking a look at whether these organizations are truly preparing students for their fields. Pre-professional organizations often require a time commitment outside of schoolwork. Do you find that this is a barrier for some students?
I think it honestly gives them the opportunity to how the real world is going to be. I think a huge part of post-grad life is time management and work-life balance, and I think we definitely prepare that for our students. Just because, you know, I mentioned earlier, we have our classes, we have our internships, we have our day jobs, and then you also have to make room for your organization. And it just gives you another reason to be passionate about what you do, because if you don't make time for it, how passionate are you about what you want to get into?
Right.
I agree with that. At DEM, a lot of the quote-unquote requirements are things that people should already be doing when they're going down the pre-health track. So whether that be shadowing or gaining clinical experience or getting research experience, these are all very essential things that any pre-health track, anyone on the pre-health track would benefit from. So that's really what our focus is trying to find and place people with certain opportunities whenever they come by, so that once they get to the stage of trying to apply to grad schools, which is an integral part of the pre-health experience, once they get to that stage, they're the most prepared and fully ready for whatever next steps are to come. That does come with a lot of time commitment issues. Oftentimes our members have to dedicate time on weekdays, weekends, travel, but at the end of the day, we try our best to recruit people who are very passionate about what they want to do. They don't necessarily have to be siloed into one path yet, but if they have a passion about pre-health, then that's really going to lead their decisions and lead their own interests and their own time commitment into the organization.
Absolutely.
I'll say specifically for my organization, when it comes time to when our members get into those upper division classes and we actually start making our own films, sometimes it can be kind of daunting, and you spend so much time focused on your projects and focused on just trying to secure everything and make sure everything's okay. And I feel like sometimes Black Lens can be that breath of fresh air where just come enjoy a movie with us. Like, we're not even going to talk about anything filmmaking. Just come enjoy a movie with us, some snacks, some fellowship, some community. And also, I love that Black Lens is a resource for students to be able to explore their passion projects. We actually have students that pitch their projects and we produce their films. So you can come to our organization, submit your script, and you could have your film produced by Texas Black Lens. So that way it's outside of class. Yes, you're making projects that you care about and that align with your passions in your class, but you also get that time outside of class to commit to what you really want to make and amplifying Black stories. And it's really cool. And so I feel like a lot of people prioritize it because of the community that comes with it. And it can be a barrier sometimes. I've already spoke about that. Film can be extremely time consuming, and so sometimes there's not enough time for Texas Black Lens, but the people that do consistently show up, it just shows that we are a space in their life that they feel is integral and important to be able to continue and have that balance of fellowship and friendship on top of stressing out in your classes, trying to make sure that your projects are made. So
Ronnie, entrepreneurship and working for startups can be a high risk, high reward field. Does your organization ever aim to prepare members for the level of uncertainty that can be associated with working for startups?
Oh, definitely, yeah. One of my favorite things is we bring in founders that are both successful and not yet successful to come and share their experience about building from 0 to 1 or 0 to 0.5. And yeah, they definitely highlight the the times where it doesn't go all the way right. But what you notice is that you still learn. You're still making yourself a more valuable creature. Maybe not for your specific project right then, but in the future. People say that startups don't offer job security. Well, I argue that the job security is in yourself. You become more valuable quicker. Yeah, I think we do a good point to explain the high risk, high reward. We make a lot of we really stress the demo day and that you have only 3 months before you're up in front of investors, you're pitching, and either you get money or you don't. So it's a simulation. No one is making money off of this that they need to live right now. But we do really stress that it's high risk, high reward. Either you have something at the end of the 3 months or you don't.
Varia, dental and medical school advocacy is not always a well-known career path. Do you find that students join your organization and discover new interests they didn't initially consider in the medical field?
Yeah, definitely. I think one passion everybody has in medicine and dentistry is that they want to help the underserved communities, and that's one of our goals at COHAP. Our philanthropy is Austin Smiles, and one really cool thing they do is they go on mission trips to other countries in Latin America where they provide dental work and dental assistance to the underserved. So COHAP offers a way to get involved with that as well, and I do think students find more of a passion and an interest in not only getting into medical school or getting into dental school, but also helping the underserved and not just regular everyday patients. We're passionate about going out there, especially teaching the younger generation of kids how to properly take care of their teeth, and that sets the foundation in the future for them to be successful in their medical history and oral hygiene.
Many pre-professional organizations exist within identity-based spaces, such as Minority Women Pursuing Law or the Society of Hispanic Professional Engineers. Texas Black Lens is an example of a pre-professional organization that is also identity-based. So for Kyla, what is the importance of groups like this within a broader career field? And why is it important specifically in the film industry?
That's a great question. I'll say the biggest thing in film and just being in the film industry is who you know. And a lot of the times when you're going through UT Austin, there's a lot of people that you'll know in your classes. And like I mentioned, the proportions of black students in this university in general, specifically in our classes as well, is very low. And so Texas Black Lens aims to create that space to make sure that you have people you know that look like you and that have the same values and that care about the same narratives as you, to make sure that they can be able to help you out on your sets and future projects and stuff like that. And so when it comes to the industry, it's so important to know people that understand your vision, that understand your background, that understand your cultural nuances, so that when it comes to making those stories, they can be told correctly. And so Black Lens prides itself in making sure that we have that sense of community. And this is very important in the film industry because a lot of the times you have to reach out to the people that you know are good at things, but they might not understand where you're coming from or what you're trying to create or who you're creating it for. And so in Texas Black Lens, we make sure that our students have a group of people that they can always reach out to that are going to understand their stories, and that are going to make sure they're told in the best light and not watered down or not hiding anything. Like we have a story that we want to tell, and in this film industry it's very important that we get black-centered narratives out there and that we amplify black voices and black films and black just normalcy. A lot of the time in the film industry you see a lot of black trauma films and just focusing on the things that we deal with negatively, but there's a lot of black joy and black creativity. And so it's so important that our members understand that those stories can also be told too, and that they have people that understand these stories and that are going to support them all the way through the hard process to make sure that they get that story told. And so we just want to be able to even the playing field. You know, it's not going to be easy because it is highly saturated, and there's not that many of us, but every year, every time we watch certain things, we see how it's grown and we get to see that representation. And so we just want to make sure that we can also be the next generation of filmmakers that give new emerging filmmakers that light and that inspiration to be able to tell their stories authentically. So I feel like that's kind of where we fall in the film industry and how we're trying to make sure we're preparing our members to go into that.
Thank you, Kyla. For organizations like U Talent Records, University Fashion Group, and Texas Black Lens, which focus on creative industries, do you ever feel like you don't get the same level of recognition or respect as a pre-professional organization compared to more traditional career-focused groups like pre-med, pre-law, or business organizations? Or is there enough student interest in the arts where this isn't really an issue? Let's start with Mairani, then Ava, then Kyla.
For sure. I think U Talent, student-ran record label, obviously isn't like a traditional organization at UT, so it can be a little bit intimidating sometimes when trying to promote our organization. We might question like maybe our credibility and like, you know, maybe getting a little bit just worried about who wants to join our org, do they find our org, like do they take our org seriously? But I think it really comes back to community building and finding individuals who are truly passionate about music or whatever industry. Because once you find those people who share the passions that you have as well, you kind of form a community and you don't have to worry too much about maybe like comparing yourselves to other organizations.
Ava?
Honestly, I feel like our org at UT is pretty like taken seriously as a fashion org, just because we have been around for so long. We were founded in 1978, and we've had our annual capstone fashion show since then, where we celebrate young designers here at UT. And like I said previously, they don't really get a spotlight for most of the time of the year except for that time, so we really try to uplift them. And I think that's where we get most of our reputation from, along with also we are out in the real world doing actual fashion industry experiences like New York Fashion Week, which I feel like not a lot of college students can say that they have attended or worked at. So, question of being taken seriously, I feel like we've accomplished that even at a university that is more research based and doesn't have a soft spot for fashion. Yeah, we've worked to be taken seriously.
I'll say, piggybacking off of what you said, just being at a university that is more research-based, it definitely can be sometimes intimidating being a very niche creative org, especially when we're an identity-based org. And so sometimes we do run into challenges when it comes to funding and challenges when it comes to securing locations, and especially with a lot of the new legislation that's been passed, it's made it much more difficult. But because we understand how important it is for our members to have that sense of community, at the end of the day, we know who we're doing it for. No matter who takes us seriously or not, we make films and we know who we make our films for. And at the end of the day, our films and the amount of work that we put into them and money and time just shows how serious we are about our craft. And, you know, a lot of people do look at film majors and, oh, you watch movies for homework and this, that, and the third, but there's so much time that goes into creating films and bringing your vision to life and putting in the work to make sure that every single piece is in place so that you can actually create your vision. And so I feel like we're slowly getting more recognition with the amount of films that we've been able to create and produce, and when we showcase them at the end of the semester, people are so impressed because it's completely student-led. We have faculty advisors, but we do all the funding from scratch. We're working on sponsors, but majority of the time it's completely us. And so it definitely is. I do see in the future Black Lens being taken much more seriously, but at the end of the day, right now, we know who we're doing it for, and we know the impact that our organization has on this campus. So, yeah.
Thank you, everyone. When we're back, we'll continue our discussion on the future of these organizations in students' careers. Tower Talks will be right back.
13 of the 48 club sports offered by the university now require students to submit proof of sex assigned at birth.
I know deep down they would probably want to stay with the university.
No way in hell anybody's going to tell my daughters what to do with their bodies.
This state is one of the worst in child education.
We can't take it anymore, seeing those scenes.
Going to Hillel on Friday night, all my family members kept texting me not to go.
There's a huge housing crisis in Austin. Do you have a plan in place to address this issue? Determined to start your day well? We're up bright and early. From the enriching local stories to the weather forecast later in the day. Rain or shine, at Good Morning Longhorns, we got you covered. Comprised of a studious reporting staff going lengths to get that scoop, and a talented technical team to enhance your screen visually. As a fellow Longhorn, your mornings are better with us. So start your day the Vivo way. Good Morning Longhorns, Wednesdays at 7 a.m. Central Time on TSTV.
Welcome back to Tower Talks. Now we head into our final topic of discussion, the future. As industries continue to evolve, student organizations must also adapt to remain relevant and effective. What does the future hold for pre-professional organizations, and how can they continue to provide real value to students entering competitive fields? Does anyone want to start?
I think that's a really interesting question because, people think that the medical field is changing, but also the entry into the medical field is changing every day. Every day, more and more schools are switching to a more holistic process in their applications, and they want to see very well-rounded individuals who can have success in talking to patients, being able to advocate for their patients, being able to communicate well, good bedside manner, things like that. So I think one way that we do this is, first of all, keeping in contact with our recently graduated alums. They give us a lot of good information about what kind of aspects the professional schools are looking for nowadays. That also comes to our speakers who come to campus. Our professional development chair is really good at connecting us with a wide range of speakers, and often they know what the industry is looking for nowadays and how we can better tailor ourselves to be more successful in our careers.
The thing about fashion that it's continuously changing, which I also love about this university, is that the student body is always evolving. So I think that's a way that students can get adapted to the world of fashion. It's just like UT, but crazier and more chaotic. And I mentioned this earlier, but we prepare our students with hands-on experience in multiple different fields within fashion. I'm just talking from a PR perspective of what I mentioned earlier with the pitches and press releases. But we also do have several committees, like a creative committee that focuses on social media, and our magazine release party is soon, next week. And we also have our modeling committee that shows students how they can model and how they can go into that industry, especially in Austin area. And we volunteer at the shows, both locally and in New York during Fashion Week. And we also have our website committee that they put their writing skills to use through blogs and our newsletter. So we dip our toe in a little bit of everything within fashion. So I think that prepares for any niche they want to go into within that world.
Mm-hmm. What improvements would you like to see in your organizations in the next few years?
I'm like, it's perfect.
One thing that we're working on right now is, every organization has a Slack or a GroupMe, some shared method of communication. And I bet you also have a lot of resources that organization provides, but they're not really melded together that well. So what we're trying to do is we're working on a web app where it's basically an online portal where you log in, you have your Momentum account, and I think that'll simplify a lot of things that right now it's lost in the minutia of group chats that's not really organized well for student organizations. That's one very specific infrastructure thing. But the other thing I want to see in my organization, Texas Momentum, is I want to see more people come to our meetings that are not explicitly part of one of our startups. We welcome everyone. All of our hack times on Thursdays, 6 to 8 p.m., all of them are open to the public. So if you're working on your brand new idea and you want to show it to someone else, you can come halfway through the semester. If you just want to work with on homework in the corner, that's fine too. Really, we're searching for those passionate people. And I want to see more of those people come to our hack times. So you're welcome. Please come to our hack times, Robert Elling Hall, 6 to 8 p.m. Thursdays.
I think one thing that U of G could improve on is implementing more social events for members and students that are outside of our org. I think utilizing tabling and info sessions, it's great for outreach, but I think the power of word of mouth is stronger than we think. And if people that are not involved with UG come with friends that are, and they meet us, they talk to us firsthand, and get to know us a little more than from I almost want to say corporate perspective, from tabling, I think that would be amazing, and we would get a lot of outreach from that. And I think there's the misconception that you have to be into fashion styling to be part of UFG, and we don't wear ball gowns at the meetings. Some people wear sweatpants, it's fine. So yeah, I think just implementing more event planning for non-members.
If you could change one thing about how your industry operates in terms of professional accessibility, what would it be?
I mean, fashion is so competitive, and unfortunately, I think like a lot of other industries, but especially fashion, it's about who you know rather than just your skill set, like a doctor would, or a lawyer or engineer, where you have your diploma and you could show them in your internships. And for fashion, that doesn't cut it. It's a lot of networking and a lot of honestly being personable. I think that's the best thing. I think some people might have the impression that some fashion industry professionals are a little snooty or unkind. And honestly, one of the nicest people that I have met have been through the industry, like in New York, not just in UFG with students. So, yeah.
I think that's one of the biggest barriers to entry into any pre-health field as well, is it is really who you know. If a lot of people who have family in the business already are connected with research opportunities or clinical opportunities from the get-go. And one of the things that we pride ourselves in DEM is really being a community and offering opportunities for people who don't necessarily have that. Like, for example, none of my family is in medicine, and I was just drawn to it somehow. And through DEM, I was able to find a lot of those opportunities, and without DEM, I can very safely say that me cold emailing 30 research professionals would not have gotten me a job at a research lab. Mm-hmm. But who I knew in the organization was able to connect me to their PI and help me get that research experience that I needed. So while once you're in medical school, it's great and you can put your head down and get to the books, I mean, to get there, the barriers to entry are only increasing, and that's one of the things that is the biggest challenge. There's so many people out there who would be really well fit for the job. Anyone can study, anyone can put their head in a book, but I'd say the people who are really passionate about it, a lot of times they don't have the opportunity because they don't have the money or they're not connected to places to put them in a position to even be at that table. So I think that's one of the things that our industry needs to work on a little bit more, is really figuring out who is passionate about serving their community and serving a greater good, and finding those people and helping them get to where they need to be in life to give back to wherever they came from.
Absolutely.
I'll say specifically for me, this kind of piggybacks off of what you guys were talking about and brings me back to another topic that I also was talking about, is a lot of times in the film industry, it's very important to know people and to network, but also I feel like a lot of people try to network up rather than out. And I would say specifically, I think that it's so important for us to understand the people who are in the same place as us, and where that could all take us if we work together, especially because film is so collaborative and you always need such a big team of people to be able to create these projects, and how intricate they are, and making sure you have skilled people in each department. And so I'd say specifically for how I see the industry, especially a lot of emerging filmmakers and a lot of emerging creatives. I'm seeing a lot more of it now, but just like making sure to network out and make sure that we all are able to help each other create beautiful things, because that's how you get your name out there. That's how people get to see the skills and your stories that you are wanting to tell, is by having a group of people be able to help you create this huge project. And so I would just like to see a lot more you know, just community building, and less of, you know, trying to network up with people who sometimes won't even give you the thought of day just because you're not at the same level as them. So, yeah.
For sure, to add on to that, you took the words right out of my mouth. I was going to explain, in my organization with Youth Talent, we host a music roundtable every year. So we have guest speakers from South by Southwest, or the Recording Academy, the Moody Center, etc. But I think one aspect that we could really shed more light on is the importance of horizontal networking. So just really tapping into who you already know, your fellow team members, your fellow classmates, and how it's so important to dedicate time to those relationships, as well as talking to an industry representative.
Yes, any final thoughts?
We need to get rid of nepotism. You probably relate to that in the film industry.
Yes, for sure.
Well, thank you all for coming on. After our break, reporter Abby Sines brings us a look at Texas politics.
Thirteen of the 48 club sports offered by the university now require students to submit proof of sex assigned at birth.
I know deep down they would probably want to stay with the university.
No way in hell anybody's going to tell my daughters what to do with their bodies.
This state is one of the worst in child education.
We can't take it anymore, seeing those scenes.
Going to Hillel on Friday night, all my family members kept texting me not to go.
There's a huge housing crisis in Austin. Do you have a plan in place to address this issue? Determined to start your day well? We're up bright and early. From the enriching local stories to the weather forecast later in the day. Rain or shine, at Good Morning Longhorns, we got you covered. Comprised of a studious reporting staff going lengths to get that scoop, and a talented technical team to enhance your screen visually. As a fellow Longhorn, your mornings are better with us. So start your day the Vivo way. Good Morning Longhorns, Wednesdays at 7 a.m. Central Time on TSTV.
Welcome back to Tower Talks. It's time to check in again on the Texas State Capitol in the 89th legislative session. TSTV department-wide social media producer Abby Sines joins us now for updates on the Texas legislature and politics. Homeowners in Texas could soon be seeing their property taxes going down. According to the Austin American-Statesman, the Texas Senate unanimously passed Senate Bill 4. The $22.7 billion tax relief package would raise the homestead exemption to $140,000. That is $40,000 more than what is currently available under that program. The Texas Comptroller defines a homestead exemption as a deduction of a portion of a home's value from its tax evaluation. In the case of SB 4, $140,000 could be subtracted from a homeowner's property value when calculating school district operations and maintenance taxes. Because property taxes are determined at the local level, homestead exemptions are not automatically applied. Homeowners in many counties, including Travis County, have to apply for them. If passed by the House, it will be voted on by Texas voters. Even if passed, homeowners with a homestead exemption will still have to pay taxes related to paying debt taken on by school districts, like paying off school bonds. But Houston Republican Senator Paul Benincourt stated in an interview to the Austin American-Statesman that thanks to the exemption and other tax relief legislation, families could save $500,000 per year. To make up for the decrease in funding for schools, under SB 4, the state would cover budgetary shortfalls of school districts. Cutting property taxes has bipartisan support. According to official statements, including the recent State of the State, Governor Abbott and Lieutenant Governor Dan Patrick both are in favor of cutting property taxes as a way to combat higher costs of living. Democrats are also on board with cutting property taxes, although some, including Austin Democratic Senator Sarah Eckhart, still harbor some reservations. According to the Statesman, Senator Eckhart is in favor of extending the tax breaks to commercial residential properties, so renters can also benefit from them. The earliest the House will vote on the bill is tomorrow when they reconvene.
Amidst political controversy surrounding the federal U.S. Department of Education, including its potential shuttering by the Trump administration, its state equivalent in Texas finds itself facing questions about its own survival. On February 11th, State Representative Andy Hopper filed House Bill 2657, which could abolish the Texas Education Agency, or TEA, and reassign its responsibilities to the Texas State Board of Education, the Texas Comptroller, and local school districts and charter schools. Representative Harper argued in posts on X, formerly Twitter, that the move is necessary to remove state and federal regulations that hinder school districts' ability to compete and thrive. In the post, Harper also stated his opposition to standardized tests like the STAR, although his bill did not mention those tests by name. According to their respective websites, the State Board of Education and the Texas Education Agency perform separate roles. The State Board of Education serves as a regulator by setting policies such as standards for curriculum, graduation, and the establishment of new charter schools. The Texas Education Agency is the actual bureaucracy that focuses on the running of schools. If HB 2657 were to pass, the Texas Comptroller would be responsible for overseeing the transfer of state funds to local schools. The position of TEA Commissioner would be eliminated, and leadership of the former elements of the TEA would be under the direct control of the Comptroller Board. HB 2657 was filed, but has yet to be reviewed by a committee in the Texas House. On February 12th, Texas Governor Greg Abbott was in Washington, D.C. to meet with lawmakers and officials from the Trump administration about the southern border. This round of meetings follows another visit by Governor Abbott to Washington on February 6, where he met with President Trump in an interview to CBS News Texas. Abbott stated that he was seeking $11.1 billion from Congress to reimburse the state of Texas for its border enforcement efforts, officially called Operation Lone Star. The governor stated that he did not consider the potential payment a reimbursement, but rather a purchase of, quote, real estate improvements, end quote, done by the state of Texas on land at the border. If Texas were to receive the money, the governor promised the availability of certain state facilities to federal agencies as part of President's border and immigration enforcement efforts. That includes 4,000 jail cells, which, according to the governor, would be provided to the administration at no cost. According to the governor's office, Operation Lone Star has been ongoing since March 2021. It has been funded by both the state legislature and private donations solicited by the state on an official government website. Personnel for the operation mainly come from the Texas National Guard and the Texas Department of Public Safety. They are deployed along the U.S. border with Mexico and are tasked by the governor with stemming the flow of illegal narcotics and unauthorized border crossings. Republicans from the Texas congressional delegation, including Senators Ted Cruz and John Cornyn, have voiced their support for the state being reimbursed by the federal government. Republican Representative Roger Williams has already introduced a bill regarding the federal government to reimburse Texas for Operation Lone Star. However, the Democrats from Texas have voiced opposition to Abbott's efforts both in Washington and Operation Lone Star itself, referring to both as a political stunt.
Thank you, Abby. Tower Talks will be back next week to discuss the state of media. Be sure to follow us on social media at TSTV News on X and formerly Twitter, and Tower Talks TSTV on Instagram. There you'll be able to find out when our next episode will be in 2025 and the topics being covered. Check us out at tstvnews.com online and subscribe to our newsletter, Newsroom Notes. From all of us here in the studio, thank you for joining us this evening and good night.